Bridgegate Day 2. It's now been about 48 hours, and Christie is stepping up to explain his role. He says he wasn't really involved, but he's trying to apologize, trying to get some of the heat off of himself. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the basic facts of the Bridgegate scandal or why people care about this, let me catch you up really fast. So, effectively, last year, there was Mark Sokolich of Fort Lee, New Jersey. He's a Democratic mayor of Fort Lee. He declined to endorse Christie in his re-election bid for New Jersey governor. Now, as we're going to show you, it didn't really matter whether he endorsed him or not, but aides of Christie, and possibly we might find out Christie himself, decided to take some form of political vengeance on Mark Sokolich, and so they shut down a couple of lanes of a bridge over to Fort Lee. This caused massive traffic problems. It caused emergency vehicles to have problems getting to people that needed them, and they timed this so it would be on the first day of school, so obviously it's a problem for the kids as well. Now, David Weinstein is a close supporter of Christie. He's the guy who actually ordered those lanes to be shut down. And then Bill Baroni, another supporter of Christie, said that the reason that it had happened was that they were doing a traffic study. He has also resigned now. So the people under Christie have been just falling to the wayside. Another close aide of Christie was fired or chose to resign today as there's increasing scrutiny over this. Now, the problem is that emails came out showing that these aides of Christie were enthusiastically celebrating the fact that they were able to shut down the bridge and cause harm, presumably to Fort Lee and possibly specifically to Mark Sokolich. Now, we have to say that at this point there is no firm evidence or proof saying that Christie ordered it or knew about it, although there is some information that might lead you to believe that, and we'll be covering that right now. So first, in his press conference today, Christie answering a lot of questions about what happened. And one of the things that he said struck me as a little bit odd. He was asked if the scandal is going to go beyond the bridge closure. Is it possible that there was anything else that was done as a form of political revenge? And this is what he said. I don't have any evidence before me as we speak that it went beyond this incident, but I can tell you that I know for sure, but I can't tell you that I know for sure as to every aspect of everything. Now, I have to be much more circumspect to that. Prior to yesterday, I believed that if I looked someone in the eye who I worked with and trusted and asked them, that I would get an honest answer. Maybe that was naive, but that's what I believed. So now I'm going and digging in and asking more questions, but I can't make a warranty on that. I won't. When I did that 4 weeks ago, I wound up being wrong. Now, what I find to be interesting about that is the particular words that he used. He says, I don't have any evidence before me as we speak that it went beyond this incident, which seems to be him trying to say, well, look, there's no paper on the podium that shows that we did other things to our Democratic opponents. And it might be that eventually something will come out, and he's trying to head that off by saying, maybe other political revenge. And here's another reason that I believe that he might be concealing something. He is still sticking to an excuse for what happened, an explanation for what happened that was discredited over a month ago. He says, what I was told was that it was a traffic study, and there was no evidence to the contrary until yesterday, delivering that line today. There still may have been a traffic study that now has political overtones to it. Now, unfortunately for the governor, we knew a month ago that there was no traffic study, but he is still trotting that line out and saying that that's what he thought was happening. Back in December 9th specifically, 3 Port Authority officials said there was no traffic study being conducted while access lanes from Fort Lee on the George Washington Bridge were closed in September. So that's what they said last month, and yet Christie is still saying that that's all I knew, man, I wasn't involved. And look, the goings-on of the Port Authority, I wouldn't expect that most governors would know. But this has been a scandal for almost 2 months now. You don't think that Christie is following up on that, trying to figure out what the media is buying, what they're not buying, what Port Authority officials have said in public in testimony? No, of course he knows about that. And so the fact that he's still using that excuse tells me that he doesn't want to admit that maybe he knew more than he's admitting to right now. And also, there was an odd question that was asked of him. It was about how this is affecting him. And he said that he's had 2 nights that were sleepless, 2 sleepless nights, that he's just been mulling over this and just how horrible it is that this happened. And yet he also said that the first he heard about the emails was yesterday morning. So if he only found out about it yesterday, why did he have 2 sleepless nights? It might have been a Freudian slip indicating that at the very least, other members of his administration told him, look, these emails got hacked or taken, or they found out about it, and so heads up, this is going to be a huge problem. It could be that he slipped in either case. Maybe he said 2 when he meant 1, or maybe he was indicating that he actually knew about this before he's admitting to, at least at this point. And so, look, it seems like this could be a big problem for Christie, and certainly people are talking about it. It's all over the media, most of the media, as we'll get to. One part of Bridgegate in particular might hurt Christie beyond just this month, and it might even hurt his long-term political chances of becoming president. Lawrence O'Donnell was talking about one particular part of it. There was a 91-year-old woman who needed help, and the emergency response vehicles took much longer to get to her than they would have if not for the bridge closures. Now, this woman eventually died, and while we don't know at this point that her death was specifically because of the delay that this political revenge caused, it certainly doesn't look good for the governor. So Lawrence O'Donnell has an interesting idea about how he thinks other Republicans and possibly Democrats will use this when Christie runs for president.
Richard Wolff, I spent some time today, we haven't been able to do it, to get the name of the 91-year-old woman who was delayed medical treatment that day because of this traffic jam and eventually died. And we don't know whether she died because of the delay in treatment.
Right.
But in politics, that's not the way they play this game. In politics, she, when we have her name, is going to become the Willie Horton of Christie's presidential campaign. His opponents are going to pin that name on him. This woman is dead because of action taken by the administration.
Now, we'll have to see if Republicans and Democrats choose to do that. As Lawrence O'Donnell says there, we don't yet know the identity of the 91-year-old woman. We don't have her name. We don't have a picture. But if that information comes out, and I think it's likely that at some point it will, it is certainly possible that it will be used in political campaigns. Now, if you're not familiar with the Willie Horton ads, it's from over 20 years ago, and it was used to show that Dukakis was soft on crime, that he was furloughing these criminals, and the face in that ad became a symbol for the entire campaign. Now, is this at the same level as that? I don't know at this point. As we said, we don't know for sure that it was even responsible for the woman's death, but it certainly doesn't look good. Now, this question or this topic actually came up at the press conference, and Christie did address it.
It's awful. Now, I've also seen conflicting reports about what the cause of death was and whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's awful to hear. Listen, all I can do is apologize for the conduct of people who worked for me. I can't do anything else. I can't reverse time. If I could, believe me, I would. But I'm just going to apologize. I think that's all you can do. And there's really nothing else you can do.
Well, the governor looking very calm there. He doesn't seem like a guy embroiled in a controversy that could theoretically at least bring down his governorship, possibly ruin his chances of running for president. Now, certainly media officials or members of the media are speculating that this could be the end of his presidential aspirations. S.E. Cupp saying on CNN that he should resign. Of course, the reason she said he should resign is that then he could focus on running for president. And she thinks that the people of New Jersey will not only forget about this bridge closure, but might think that, look, he resigned. He's this wonderful guy who's willing to give up his governorship to make right on what his aides did. I think that that's a pretty bad evaluation of what's going on here. But Lawrence O'Donnell does perhaps have a point there. Now, I was talking with Ben Mankiewicz about this earlier today, and he made the point that Christie has been relatively untouchable. Now, he's done things like touring the beaches when Sandy hit with Obama. Certainly Republicans didn't like that. But they haven't been able to stick anything really horrible to a right-winger to him just yet. But look, people aren't going to like this, especially once the woman's face comes out, once a picture of her comes out. Traffic as a general issue usually is something that strikes a chord with people. And so it's his belief that this is the sort of issue that will transcend the normal things that people tune into the news for. This is not some arcane policy debate. It's not about funding levels. This is about basically old school base level politics, where you use your political power to punish people you don't like or help people you do like. And I think that that's the sort of thing that's simple enough that it will resonate with the average voter. And look, will the ads work? Will they actually bring down Christie? That I don't know, but I do expect that Republicans will try to use this against him.